everyone. Hello and welcome along to the Mackem Football Show. Today, you've got everybody, if you're watching it very live, you've got Mr. Doofus in the top left corner. The pink icon is a brand new guest, so say hello to Owen, aka SAFC Exiled Mackem. We'll leave his link in the description after this, so you can check his channel out. Welcome along, and
Thanks, Ant.
no worries. And in the bottom right, we have Yorkshire Mackem, aka Jacob. So welcome along, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, should we just get the cat out of the bag? We've got two games to discuss because we do these shows every single Friday. We've got obviously the 3-1 win against QPR, which is a completely different win to the 3-1 win against. Oh my god, I forgot who it was for a second there. Blackburn
Robles.
You can tell it's the end of a work week. My days, nothing's going quite to plan tonight, but there is one game live, by the way. There is the Birmingham versus what's the other QPR game. They're going to get smashed again, hopefully.
It's a very boring game.
It looks like a 0-0 fest, to be honest, but there you go. First things first, though, the England women's game. England are winning at the Stadium of Light 2-1, so that's good news. That's cool. Yes, shall we talk about the QPR game first then, considering they're playing again right now? 3 confident goals. Should we get the negative out of the way with first? What do you think about the goal we conceded, Owen? I'll get you straight into that. What do you think about the goal we conceded against QPR?
So it was just, I think, first of all, it was just failure to clear that second ball again. The ball, it went out to the edge of the area. No one shut him down. We didn't close the ball out. And also, I think it's worth reminding, I think I'm right in saying, I might be wrong, I often am, that Ballard wasn't even on the pitch at that point, was he either? So, you know, I think that's one of the things that Mowbray was doing his nut about. So it was just not closing down that second phase ball, wasn't it?
So was that the QPR game or the Blackburn Rovers game? Sorry.
Was that the I don't know. No, I got the wrong game there. I got mixed up.
Yeah, we'll talk about. Yeah, exactly. We've slept a couple of times. It's what you do when you have a weekly show and you play 2 games in it. You do mix them up quite a lot. Oh, some changes there. So what was the goal like again against QPR? Because it was a snatch and grab at the start of the game, right? It was they were
one throw in from the right and it was headed away. It dropped to the edge of the area. I think someone passed it back to their player Parl, and he hits it through a sea of legs. And Parson couldn't do anything about it. He just couldn't see the ball coming. I think if Parson has a clear line of vision on the shot, he saves it. But I think he obviously must just literally at the last minute, he's probably seen it come through the crowd of legs. He had no chance. I think it was just not dealing with that second ball that was the problem.
Yeah. Is it an overall, was it something that was against the run of play, or was it something we'd expected in that game?
I don't think it was particularly against the run of play. I think it was just kind of a typical scrappy QPR goal, wasn't it? It was what they wanted, wasn't it? To turn the game into a scrap and a fight is what they were trying to do from the very first minute, wasn't it? So, yeah, I think,
It's the Gareth Ainsworth game, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's the way he wants to play his football, isn't it? He wants to turn every game into a fight. He'd rather his players punch someone in the face than actually play a game of football.
Yeah, good point.
He's not good enough. He's a League One manager at best. He shouldn't be in the Championship. Gareth Ainsworth.
To be fair, I'm not even sure he should be in the game of football. If I'm being honest, I get defensive managers being defensive, but he's not even. He's got a rock band or something he gigs in, but that's neither here nor there. He's a bit of a strange man, but we've got strange people up and down the game, so it's he's just strange in this very particular way. But for me, his management style is more suited for a rugby match, or maybe even to a tennis coach kind of style. It's more one-on-one aggression, and it will get the best out of 1 or 2 people in a squad, but an entire squad playing that way, for me, is so detrimental to the trajectory of some of the people at that club. But everybody's got there now, likes to play that kind of scruffy style, and yeah, it's
It's
aggressive.
hoofing football as well, isn't it? It's hoof football he's played as well, because he did that at Wickham, and it doesn't always work your way, because it didn't work for Wickham at Wembley when they played us, because the pitch was too big, and it was good. People were saying before that game, Wickham likes to do hoof football, and it won't work at Wembley because the pitch is too big.
Well,
really, it's a bit. You get what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, what was it, when we went 2-1 up, it was like they threw everything at us. Obviously, they're down to 10 men because of Jack Colback, Ginger, Ninja, Wanker, whatever you want to call him. He like that incident of him being too aggressive against Sunderland, against Bellingham, who, let's face it, that incident could have ended Joe Bellingham's career. It was so high, so late, and just horribly placed. Like, any QPR fan who's watching that back going, I got the ball, doesn't fucking matter if he even got a tiny millimeter touch on the ball. He went for the man's leg. That could have been a career ender, and it's definitely a red card. I don't care if you get a slight touch on the ball during that.
Do you think Newcastle fans will make pictures of Colback standing over Bellingham as a revenge? You know, for
no. Because he got sent off, mate. He's embarrassed by it, or hopefully he's embarrassed by it.
Probably not.
So, Owens said a couple of things on his channel over the past week about that incident. But have you had a little bit of a thought behind it, mate? And yeah, have you had a bit of thought behind it? Have you changed your mind on any of the Jack Colback situation?
No, I mean, it was a disgusting tackle. It was absolutely fine. Do you hear what Gareth Ainsworth said after the game, though? He comes out and he says, well, the boy made the most of it.
Yeah.
I mean, what does he expect? But Colback could have snapped the guy's leg. It really was. It was a disgusting tackle. And for Ainsworth to come out and say, oh, he made the most of it, like Bellingham was rolling around trying to get Colback sent off, I think is an absolute disgrace, personally, and.
Oh yeah. Like I said, I've pretty much watched all of your posts on it, and it's like I can't really agree more. It's disgusting, and it is the way Gareth Ainsworth likes to play. It's not working. It doesn't adapt, and it's just like he puts his hands together and just prays that the way he works against the team he's coming up against. It doesn't adapt to anything. It's not a good style to have.
Yeah, he has his top button undone, doesn't he? And it's just like...
Oh, you're just talking about his appearance again, Jacob. Come on.
He looks ridiculous, though. I mean, he looks like some reject from a 1970s rock group.
Yeah, kind of he does have a rock band. He does do that. So I get it. It's just weird.
Sing in his spare time. He does do singing in his spare time.
Yeah.
Yeah. He don't have the X Factor.
Before we go on the Sunderland goals, I'm just going to call out a couple of people who's popped into the chat. Jess, SAFC, welcome along. SAFC Uploads, thank you very much and happy birthday for this weekend. And Cabby, welcome along, buddy. But yeah, we got into it after that Jack Colback incident, right? And who do you think sparked that change? Because for me, I'm going to throw the name out there and hope you guys react to it. But the guy who sparked all of the change, and let's face it, he was man of the match in the most recent one. Oh, I got a subscriber. Thank you very much.
Sophia Clark subbed.
Thank you, Sophia. We've got Jack Clark spinning the game on its edge to just fly, Jack Clark in that QPR game was the absolute catalyst. If he didn't get that goal before half time, we would have struggled in the second half. Yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, he did. Yeah, Clark. The goal was crucial. I think that going in 1-1 is a lot better. I still think that even if we go in 1-0 down, I still think Mowbray, the changes that he made with his in-game management, I think we would have still won the game. To be honest with you, even going in 1-0 down, I still back the lads to fight back, because this lot just don't know they're beaten, do they? They never do. So, look, I think we would have still come back. Clark was brilliant, and it wasn't just on his offensive work on Saturday against QPR. It was also his defensive work, his work going back as well. He did work very, very hard. But I think, yeah, he was part of the reason. But for me, Alex Pritchard was the biggest one that pulled it all together. That just seemed, before Pritch came on, there was a lot of very slow build up and a lot of pretty passing and not much sort of cutting edge there. Whereas Pritch kind of pulled it together. He sped it up. He just kind of was like the conductor on the orchestra, and he kind of pulled it all together. So
that's an interesting take.
A bit of credit.
Yeah, that's a really interesting take, because like, I thought it was Clark mainly who did that in that QPR game, but Pritchard, yeah, to be fair, if you clinically look at it, Pritchard did provide that extra bit of touch of class, especially in the second half. I'm not sure about like the first goal back, but it's definitely second half. He was the through ball for everybody. I can see Doofus has gone, and we have, I believe, Bradley from RWA joining us as well. Welcome along, mate.
Evening,
welcome, Bradley.
Hi, Bradley.
Yeah, not bad.
I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Thank you. I think we're all pretty happy to be fair though. We've got a couple of lads in the chat asking how we're doing and hope we have a good evening. And we've got to be, considering how well we've performed over the last 5 games. I know it sounds really bizarre, but like a lot of my mood, just my general mental health, is highly linked to how well Sunderland perform. Do you find that link for yourself as well? Like, if Sunderland are in a downward spiral, you just like, oh, what's the point?
Life, don't you?
Yeah.
You just want to shove your face in cake or something like that and just push the season to be over already.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't like that negative vibe that were going on at the beginning of the season. You know, after Preston and Ipswich, I hated it, and I was thinking to myself, oh, you know. But now that that's over, that negative vibe that were going on,
yeah,
I'm just glad we're picked up now, and you know.
Yeah. Well, it does remind me a lot of my childhood, and when I say my childhood, I mean like about around the time of the millennium. So. Again, Owen said this a couple of times on your channel, right? It does remind you the creativeness in our current squad, especially in that QPR game, is very Peter Reid era-esque. Like, Clark is very much like Arca, and I think what we differ from that era is just we're not reliant on the 2 strikers up front.
No.
What are your thoughts, Owen?
Yeah, I think you can even take it back to the Alan Johnston as well. Those of you who remember Alan Magic Johnston, he was another one. He could literally create. He was a right footer who played on the left wing. For those of you who are too young to remember him, he would cut in. He'd do a lot of things that Clark would do. He wasn't quite as quick as Clarky, but yeah, there is similarities. But yeah, I think that team was built all around just giving the ball to Quinn and Phillips and letting them do all the damage, which they did on a frequent basis. They were. I was a season ticket holder during that era and followed them home and away, never missed a game, and it was just absolutely, they were awesome to watch. That team was just different class. But yeah, there is so much creativity, and you look at the front 4, and whoever's in that, obviously Clark and Roberts are the 2 kind of constants there. I mean, although Roberts hasn't played a lot recently, but you look at that and there's just so much rotational creativity there, because you've got Job, you've got Roberts, you've got Clarkey, and then up front you could have Dak or Burstow or whoever, and they all just seem to be able to rotate round and through and just cause so many problems. They must be an absolute nightmare to mark, because it might be like, right, you're picking. Actually, no, where's he gone now? Bellingham's over there. Okay, I'll go. Oh no, he's come. Oh, it must be a nightmare.
And then Pritchard just like sees the run or the half the run, and the guy just continues it on when he sees the dink coming in, and the defender's just like looking at Pritchard kicking the ball and goes, oh. What? That was oh crap! He's behind me now. Crap! It's like catching the defenders off guard. Brad, what's your thoughts? Any for them?
Sorry about that. I was just unmuting myself.
So,
I thought Wednesday night we played quite well. Thought Jack Clark was man of the match Wednesday night. I thought he played really, really well.
We're talking about the QPR game first, mate.
We're talking about QPR, are we? Okay,
yeah.
I didn't know game on. Sorry.
That's all right.
So, QPR game, I think we won 3. Yeah, we won 3-1 again, didn't we? On Saturday last week?
Yeah. That's why you might be confused. We're talking about 3-1, 3-1. Is your prediction for this weekend 3-1 as well? Might as well be, right? Why not?
Yeah, might as well. But anyways, going back to last Saturday, thought we actually started the game quite quite cagey in the first 10-15 minutes. Obviously, they took the lead 1-0 in front. But after that callback sending off, which was a blessing in disguise, I thought we kind of dominated the game. Do you agree?
Like I said, if we didn't get that goal seconds before the half-time whistle from Jack Clark, it would have been a completely different story. The defenders would have just continued to dig in and frustrate us. But yeah, second half, like both of those second halves in both of those 3-1 wins, more so in the Blackburn game, we just came onto it. But like, we'll talk about the Blackburn game in a couple of seconds. But it's more. I'm really happy the way we are building ourselves up in the game. Even the scrappy ones, even the ones where we're down and now we're not kicking into gear straight away like we did against Southampton. Those games we're grinding out, we're building into them, and we're basically showcasing like the talent that we have out of the club is a threat regardless of who we're coming up against. The only team I'm really kind of nervous around is Leicester City, because Leicester are pretty much flying, but it does also go to prove like the only two teams that we have had really good performances against and still lost are still above us, and we're fourth in the table. Like, yeah, there's some kind of respectability in losing against the teams that are above you. How long that'll last for Ipswich, how long that'll last for Preston, time will tell. But I'm showing that we've got more respect and we're building into the season. We're already ahead of where we were last season, so it's a painful one because you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but also you kind of want to just enjoy it while it's happening. And before I ask my next question, I just want to say hi to Niall in the chat, hi to Acacia, and welcome to Cabby in the call as well. Welcome along, mate.
Sorry, I'm late. I've not long been in from work.
No, that's all right. That's what the Mackem football show is about, mate. Like, so we get every Mackem, I think everybody bar Jacob has their own channel here. So, like I said, it's all about getting our opinions on the same hymn sheet and disagreeing with each other if there's something to like flag up. If you've got an opinion on something, like for me, there was one statement that Owen said in the middle of that, by the way, that I kind of wanted to flag. You didn't mention at all Abdullah Bar in your attacking options.
Oh yeah.
Do you think he's one of those players that you'd forget, or do you think he's one of those ones that it's just like it's that new and a bit of a surprise to you that you want to drag him up?
Oh yeah, I think I think he's forgotten because of he's been brilliant of late, and I think it's just because obviously when you think of attacking options and you think of that three behind the fake nine or the strikers we've now got for them. You kind of obviously always think Roberts, Clark, Roberts, Joe, and Clarkey. So yeah, but I mean, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? And it gives Mowbray such a selection headache going into the weekend in terms of you keep Barr on, or do you put Roberts back out there? But if you take Barr out and put Roberts in, do you damage the lad's confidence? But Patrick Roberts is probably after Clarkey, probably one of the most talented players on our squad. So where do you go with that? It's great. It's a lovely problem to have. It's a nice headache for a change.
Yeah. Do you think we've lacked a couple of nice headaches recently, or is it one of those ones where you don't want to upset the apple cart too much, where you where you just like I don't know. It's like you said, it's a nice problem to have, but also Mowbray for me is, I think he's an interesting character. He brings the squad together in a really strange, unique way, because he kind of felt like Alex Neil when he was trusted by the players. He was going to be the best we'd see for a long time, or that was the perception at the time. But Mowbray for me has come on massively, and I thought he was going to be a stopgap manager or head coach or whatever you want to call it until somebody permanent comes along. But yeah, there's something that's going on in the back office now that I think is massively clicking for everybody in the club. Really interesting one.
It is a good problem. I mean, you've got to have quality every position, but you've got to have backup quality. And I think was it S? I can't remember. It was. Well, I was listening to Summit tonight on Spaces on Twitter, and they were talking about how if you put 2 11s out, Sunderland wrote down 2 Sunderland 11s at the moment. Yeah, okay, take out Clark and Ballard and Roberts because they are brilliant, those three. But you've got two real good quality 11s there that can come in and replace people. You've got, for Hume, you've got Pembele hopefully behind him. When they're fully fit, you've got Sirkin can play. Oh, he's a left back, but Elise can play left back. Huggins can play left back. You've got Matete and Corey Evans to come back into the team for Ekwar and Neil. There's loads of quality there, and I mean, I think some people know I follow NFL, follow a lot of NFL. And my team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and their head coach Mike Tomlin talks about 2 dogs, 1 bone. And he talks about how the dogs fight for the 1 bone, and the fittest dog will win. But it raises the standards, and if you've got 2 players competing for every jersey, it just raises standards. If that player knows, if I have a bad game or I muck up, he's behind me and he's going to take my spot off me. So it's really good for the squad.
I 100% agree with that philosophy. There's a position I want to call out, and I want to ask the other lads' opinions on it, because we have that. We've had that for a couple of years, but two players, 1 position, goalkeeper. We've had Alex Bass come in, not make a dent into Patterson's dominance. We've got Bishop in now. Do you think Bishop has the genuine opportunity to overthrow Patterson this season, or is he heavily reliant on Patterson getting sold in January? If I don't want Patterson to be sold in it, but is that what Bishop's relying on? Brad, Cabby, Jacob, what's your thoughts?
Well, I hope he's not thinking that, because because I wouldn't want Patterson to go, but today he's just signed a contract until 2028. So
that's Patterson, right? Yeah.
Patterson, yeah, which is good news to hear. But I think we need maybe put Bishop more in the. Could he go in the under 21s maybe to develop a bit more, or something? Could do that to develop him.
I'm not
he's
sure.
He's not going to get any game time, is he?
Probably not, like I said, unless he gets injured or he gets sold. I think Bishop's going to repeat what Bass did last season.
Yeah. Because I don't think Bass ever played in the academy, did he? Or reserves to maybe develop a bit more.
Yeah.
So I think that's what should be happening. Something like that. Do that.
Cabby? What's your thoughts on Patterson as well? Do you echo what Jacob's just said?
Pretty much so. I mean, you can never complain about having any good players in your squad, and I think it's healthy for Bishop to bash on Patterson's door, because of the fact it's going to keep Patterson on his toes as well. But like I say, it's good news that Patterson has signed a new contract and stuff. He's still learning. Let's not forget that he's still gaining experience. He's played plenty of games, but and it's all good for Bishop as well. I mean, I would like to see him get a couple of games and stuff in, but you can't change something which is currently working at all.
Mm-hmm. Welcome along, Ben, into the chat. Niall here puts a really good point. I think they should have brought in a veteran to support Pato's development rather than another young talent.
I agree with that, to be honest.
The whole reason Bishops came in, obviously, he's a very young keeper, but he wants game time as well. I really do like our youth model. Do not get me wrong in that, one iota, and James, welcome along as well. But he's not had more experience than Patterson. He hasn't been on the pitch. He hasn't been selected by Manchester United enough to say he is on paper going to compete with him. I think it's going to be the other way around. Even though, like James says, Bishop is older than Patterson, Patterson's going to teach Bishop rather than the other way around. So it's yeah. What about you, Bradley? What about you?
Yeah, I think Bishop will just be hiding under 21s like the academy, like Bass did last season, and think you'll have, like, obviously, in the cup games, like in the FA Cup and stuff, I think you'll obviously be first starter over Patterson any day in the FA Cup games, because in the cup games, you only give the fringe players a game, don't you? So,
Early stages in the cup, yeah. If we start to progress higher than round 5, then we'll put out our best squad because we're playing up Premier League opposition there. But
yeah, so if you're playing like Everton, your Liverpool, Chelsea's, your Man City's, obviously you've got to put your strongest 11 out there possible.
There's another question, and I'll throw this to Owen this time. The getting out of the Carabao Cup, has that potentially hindered our season now because of the lack of extra game time that Bradley just mentioned there for the fringe players?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, especially sort of the younger lads in the squad who you probably wouldn't want to risk as much in the Championship. You know, you can give starting game time to the likes of Tom Watson, to the likes of Chris Rigg, to some of the other players that like Jay Matete, if he'd been fit, those players who perhaps wouldn't be shoe-in starters, and you then bringing them off the bench with them having virtually no game time and no match fitness in their legs. So I can see that, and I can see that the going out of the Carabao Cup has hurt that side of it. And I agree. Possibly the FA Cup will be a time for the outfield play, for rotating the outfield players, particularly perhaps if we draw a team in the lower leagues in the third round. Obviously, if we draw a Premier League team, then you can't take any risks. You can't put Bishop in goal. You can't play some of the young players. You've got to play your strongest team, or you'll get embarrassed. But yeah, I think like I said, the likes of it would have been interesting perhaps to get a little bit of a run in the Carabao Cup, because then you could have given Riggy 3, 4, 5 starts. You could have given Watson the same. You could have given who else?
Taylor,
Fuentes, Steels, yeah, those sort of players could have come in.
Yeah. So James says, I genuinely don't understand rotating goalkeepers in the cup, and I think it is just for that. One, you don't want to. The league is much more important to Sunderland, and especially with the second tier cup. All of the cups have. This bloody dog! My dog's just howling in the background, so I do apologise if it's picking up on the mic. But yeah, the whole point of putting rotation players in that side is focus on the league, get as high up as the league as possible. If you're struggling or you're mid-table league, then yeah, rotation doesn't make sense. But if you are genuinely competing for it, you want to keep as many people fit as possible. I'm going to have to shout at these dogs now. So, 2 secs. No, it's not working. Dogs do what they want. 2 secs. So, what's your thoughts, Brad, on rotating players? And then after that point, we'll move into the second game, the Blackburn Rovers game.
I thought to rotate the players. Obviously, if you're mid-table, it's all right to do. But it's not all right to do, obviously. But if you are in the playoffs, so you're going for automatic promotion, if you're in that kind of spot, you don't want to kind of rotate and stick to the same. Are you all about in cup games? Are you all about in main games? What are you all about?
Yeah, so your priority should be the main games, right? But rotating players into the cup games should only really happen if your league position is, if you're absolutely if you're scrapping for survival, or if you're scrapping for promotion. If you're in the mid barrier, you can play whatever squad you want in that. You don't need to rotate. You can just you can keep cracking on with the players that are performing for you. But to the other side of it, because you're more likely to win the cup competition at that stage than drop out the league or go up it. But to the other end, if you're highly likely to do successful, or you want your best players fit mid for the league, then you rotate your players. That's the whole point of that, right?
Yeah, of course it is, because obviously if you're going for automatic promotion spot, if you're in there and if you've got a cup game, you don't want to rotate the players just in case. Obviously the strongest got out in 11, just in case. Just imagine if Clark played, Patterson plays, one of them players could pick up a really bad injury, and it could be out. But even though that's the same as a main game, it can happen in any game. It can happen
in training as well. Just look at Mayenda. Yeah. At the moment, everybody keeps on forgetting Mayenda even exists because he hasn't put on the Sunderland shirt yet.
I have as well, to be honest. I've even forgotten about him.
Has anybody actually seen him?
He apparently played 7 minutes of training in his first session, and that was it. Like,
Yeah, I thought, well.
In the words of Ron Burgundy, well, that escalated quickly.
yeah. I can see you've responded to is it Ben Ben in the chat saying about Ukrainian strikers. Owen, do you want to emphasise on what that is? So Russian has his visa now. You've released a video on that.
So, Rusin has the visa now. Visa has finally arrived. You know, from the British government have finally got their fingers pulled out and sorted it out for us. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Mowbray was asked about it today a couple of times in his presser, and he said that the visa's through, but he said that he'd have to be assessed in training. It would be very much. He thinks him coming from the bench if he's used, because he says his English is exceptionally poor. He's not really talking to the other boys in training because he can't communicate with them. He said he looks sharp, he looks quick, he looks a real good player, but I think it's the communication difficulties are something that are going to obviously hold him back the first few weeks, because it's very difficult. Yes, at the start of the game, you can perhaps have a translator in there to tell him what you initially want, but once the players are on the field and you're trying to communicate with them and yell at them, he's going to struggle to get the message. So it will be a case, I think, of 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, half an hour there, from what Tony was saying today. Tony, I think it was his last press conference, he made a joke out of it. He did say, when he's speaking Tony said, when I'm speaking my fluent Ukrainian to him, but I don't think Mowbray can do that.
With his revels at the side, I guess.
Aye.
You are the coffee one. I am the minstrel. Minstrel, stay here. Shout you. Terrible. Yeah.
I'm sure soon he'll develop Mackem accent more, and then he'll be some Mackem phrases as well. He'll pick up on it.
On communication issues, though, how many? I think we've got a couple of new signings that do have communication issues. Correct me if I'm wrong here. You've got Adil Oshish, French, completely French, doesn't really speak a word of English. Timothy Pembele probably speaks a little bit better English than Adil, or it might be the other way around, but one of them is like broken English, one of them just doesn't speak English at all. Hamir Semedo, his English is of a decent standard, but it's not to the point where he can understand definitely a northeastern accent, shall we say. Who else is that? There's so many foreign players for us at the minute. You've also... Ekwa didn't speak a word of English before he moved to England. So, obviously, Russian doesn't speak English. How many players on our pitch can we have that don't communicate with each other and still perform as good as we are? I'll open that to Brad, because I can see he's very kindly said, don't forget the sub button on my, on my chat. So, thanks for this call out. And, communication, what do you think?
To be honest,
yeah, there's only so much. Stuart says as Russian can still point though. Yeah, you can. There's so much pointing they can do to say like where you want the ball and stuff. Like, it's a loud stadium, so you're not going to have like proper full-on conversations about the economy in the middle of the pitch. But like, you still need to be able to say, "I want the ball there." Like, that was not good enough. That kind of basic level of conversation is not happening, right? So.
Well, to be honest as well, we've got like Ekwa, he'll be back in about, how long is it, 7 to 10 days?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Of course, not a million miles away. You've got obviously Abdullah who speaks French as well. You've got, trying to think else, Ashish.
Oshish, yeah. Oshish.
Yeah. He speaks French, so many players can actually speak French.
Yeah. So that communication issue is only really with the ones that are Russian at the minute. Jim does say that Ekwa is apparently the main translator for French, for the French lads as a whole. So when tactically it could be really abused to make Ekwa look a lot better by him. Lads, when he's saying like, when you get in the wide, pass it to me on the edge of the D, and I'll feed it through. he could be doing that, because he is absolutely exciting. He could be getting the other lads to do what he wants. Caroline Wolf says Tony was very positive about French Dave today. Did anybody else see that? Because that's news to me.
Yeah,
I haven't seen he does the pre-match conference 2 days early for some reason. Go on.
I watched the presser.
Sorry, go on.
I was saying, yeah, I watched the presser. He was talking about Adil Oshish, or French Dave as he's known, and just saying like how impressed he was with how confident he was on the ball, and that basically we'd be seeing a fair bit of him, very soon. So I honestly think there's a chance he'll be starting sooner rather than later for us.
Could he be competing with Roberts for a starting place, or yeah, because he seems to come on the left wing, which is Clark's natural position, right? So are we switching it up on the wings to fit him in?
I think he can play anywhere. From what I've read about him, he can play anywhere along that front three. So he can play as an attacking midfielder. He can play as a right winger, left winger. So I think he can play in a number of different positions. I think with Dak being out, Pritchard playing 90 the other day, I've got a suspicion he won't start Pritch on Sunday because he's been playing 90 against Blackburn and him. I think it wasn't quite 90, it was like 80, wasn't it? And he played more minutes than he should have done. Than I think Mowbray planned for him against QPR. So I can see perhaps him using Oshish and Job as like, and Clark and Barr or Roberts, him using him some way there, and even possibly like starting him on Sunday.
Yeah, good point. I think that rotation factor is a night. Like I said, it's a nice problem to have to say who's going to be starting. But if it helps keep players fit for longer, it just does wonders for Mowbray to have those issues. Oh, my plan is for this. If something happens, then it might change. But my plan is I think he can clearly communicate what he wants from each and every game. So that naturally brought me on quite nicely, based on that point about the Blackburn Rovers game. We said we'd get into it about 10 minutes ago now, so if you're listening back, apologies. But yeah, another 3-1, good win. Good problems to have. A lot of... Was the starting lineup against QPR the same as the starting lineup against Blackburn Rovers? Does anybody know if there was any changes? I genuinely can't remember. I've slept 3 times since that game.
Was it only be Pritch for Ekwar?
Oh yeah, Ekwar got injured at centre defensive midfield, didn't he? It was a dead leg or something like that, right?
Dead leg, yeah. We're a dead leg.
Yeah.
Not sure how long though. I'm not sure if it's the Blackburn game or 2 games, something.
Yeah.
He's back for Sheffield. I can confirm that.
Sorry,
yeah.
He's back. He's back for Sheffield. So that's next Friday.
Friday,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Cool. Also,
crucial play though, isn't it? Even for tomorrow and Blackburn, him being out. Still got some other good lads though, so it's not like it's all to worry about.
Yeah, we're still got some good ones.
Yeah. I've got a couple of questions coming in from the chat, and I will go through the answers to a couple of those. But we'll talk about the Blackburn Rovers game. So Ben asks what my starting lineup will be on Sunday. We'll go through that, see if we can come to a collective group one, yeah, we'll go through the questions bit by bit. But it's an interesting way to start our Blackburn game, right? We struggled quite a bit at the start of that game. It was a bombardment from Blackburn. We massively struggled with their flood, their one-touch passing. It was just so clinical, so smooth. But the big difference was how we defended versus how they defended. Ultimately, every time the ball came into our box, our defenders were throwing themselves in front of everything to block it. Like Dan Ballard was unreal. Luke O'Nien, unsung in this game, I think, but obviously we all love Luke O'Nien. He'll save your Labrador. But our defensive lineup was amazing. Apart from, I think, like I said, they were flooding our wings quite a bit. The Huggins and Hume were a little bit overwhelmed especially in that first half an hour. Do you disagree with that, or what do you think? I'll go to Owen because I know he's ready.
I think, yeah. I mean, for me, it was mainly down our left, their right that they were getting in a lot in the first half. If you go back and watch it, I think nothing against Huggins. I think for Huggins, he got better as the game went on. I think he's just lacking match sharpness, match fitness. I mean, the poor lad's been out for absolutely donkeys, hasn't he? He's missed so much football. I mean, I remember him playing that Birmingham game just after the World Cup finished, and he played 90 minutes and doing really well. But then he got injured again, and then he didn't come back to the end of the season. Then he got injured again, and then he got injured in the I think he just lacks that sharpness, and they were really exploiting that. That side of the defence. But no, I completely agree. In terms of how we defended, though, the lads just were brilliant. I mean, Dan Ballard. I mean, that lad he's Premier League quality. There was times when some of his defending it was and people would accuse me of being exaggerating because I'm a Sunderland fan. I love Dan Ballard and I've got my red and white goggles on, but I thought it was world class at times. Some of that defending, absolute world class.
Oh yeah, and we can be we're allowed to be biased, mate. We are Sunderland fans. Like, I don't think you have to be as so middle of the road to appease, I don't know, like a West Ham fan or a Brummie or whatever. Like, we are going to see it how we like to see it. So yeah, if you genuinely ask the question to Premier League clubs after seeing the last 3 performances from Dan Ballard, or pretty much our entire team, to Premier League, there would be a lot more higher bids coming in. Like just Jack Clark would not be getting offered pennies for what he's worth. So yeah, like, Dan Ballard, absolutely, you can tell he comes from like Premier League academies. To be fair, same a little bit with Ekwa as well. Like, his talent is just like, we're allowing these players to shine now. Cabby, you've gone a little bit quiet, mate, so I want to get your opinion. First part of that game, what do you think?
Of the QPR, the Blackburn game.
The Blackburn game, and the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much under the cosh for the first 25 minutes, maybe it's a bit more. And as I said before, the fact, like, the longer that game went on, being 0-0 and Blackburn not scoring, and you know, people also saying, you know, missed opportunities from Blackburn, and that. But looking back at the replays, and that was absolutely superb defending by Sunderland. All the bodies on the line, especially Hume and Ballard, they were immense. And there's things like that changes the game. And obviously we've got the penalty at the other end, and I think Sunderland just grew and grew into the game as it went on. But just have a look back again at the replays and stuff. The defending is just top quality. Like, we really need to keep hold of Dan Ballard and keep him fit for as long as possible. Like, because he's immense.
I can't agree more, to be honest. I'd like to be a little bit contrary and say, like, nah, did you not think about this? But, like, yeah, a perfect point. Literally, I don't think there's anything I would add. Would anybody like to add to Gabby's point there? Nope. Yeah, so well put, mate. The first goal, I'm trying to remember the way the goals went in. So yeah, bombardment from Blackburn. Then it was Clark up the other end, completely against the run of the play, winning the penalty, running away from the goal. Right. If we hadn't got that penalty, do you think our game plan would have been what it was in the second half? Do you think it would have been a lot more scrappy? I'll go to Jacob for this one. Jacob, what do you think?
I think it'd have been more scrappy, because in that first half to start with, Blackburn were the better team, and they just kept pressing at us. And for their equaliser, for their goal, of course, they fouled on Dan Ballard, didn't they? Yeah. And he was still on the ground. Blackburn went running up and then pretty much scored because Dan Ballard wasn't there to stop them. So they took advantage of our defence and scored. But then after that, I think we were a better team, really. But I think if we didn't score first, could have been a different game. Could have easily been different.
Yeah. Did you? So we get that penalty, right? And then going after that, I'll ask this one to Brad. Going after that, the Blackburn attack, did they get what they deserved at that stage, or do you think it was just a mistake from us? Like, what do you think of their leveler?
think it was a bit of a misunderstanding. I think it was a bit of a mistake from us, to be honest. I think it wasn't deserved goal, to be honest. But to be honest, it was more of a I think it was. I can't remember who actually got the ball in, and I can't remember who actually let the goal in for Blackburn. I can't remember who scored it. You remember who scored it?
Not off the top of my head, mate, because yeah. Does anybody got that to hand? I forgot the bloody name. It wasn't the bully man. It wasn't the bully man. I know that. Who? Leonard. That was it. Because yeah, because wasn't he the highest rated player for them at like 6 out of 10 at the end of the game? Yeah. I want to. This is the one time I want to be slightly contrary to Brad's point there. I do think they did earn a goal at least. They should have been. They should have been going into that half with at least being level. But like I said, I really don't care if we're winning scrappily or not. We took the lead.
No, I'm not saying that they deserve a goal. They played really well first half. They played really well first half before we actually got a foothold of the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they just bombarded us in that first half. I think what the game changer was that that attack from. Sorry, there's something really weird happening with the sound at the minute. I'm not sure what it is. It sounds like I'm in a 1980s movie or something. Our second goal comes from his corner. Like, we struggled from set pieces last season, but when it got fed out and we drive into the box, we feint the goalkeeper, and it goes across the face of the goal just before half time, like literally seconds before half time. That for me is a sign that even if we are scrappy, if we struggle, we can beat teams that are on the day performing better than us. Owen, do you think we should have went ahead 2-1 before half time in that Blackburn game? Or yeah, I kind of feel like it was a miscarriage of footballing justice, but like I said, it happened for Sunderland, so I don't really care too much. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if you'd said, I think it was slightly unfair. It was against the run of play. They were by far the better team in the first half, and on any other day, less inspired defending, less fantastic keeper, they probably get a couple of goals. I think it was just, for me, it's just this season there's something different with them. We're just clinical. We get the chance, we take the chance, we put teams away.
Yeah.
And dare I say it, and I know it's only been, I know it's hard, it hasn't got to Tony's 12 games that he keeps talking about. After 12 games we'll know more about the table. After 12 games we'll take it more seriously. All that. I know we're not there yet, but this actually looks like a team that could be promoted, because we rode our luck a hell of a lot in that first half, but we still managed to somehow, through good play, through being clinical, we'll go in 2-1. Second half we come out, we get the third. And to be honest with you, with the breakaways, the counter attacks we had in the second half, we could have put them away 4-5 in the end.
Yeah,
easy.
Yeah, I was building to second half. We were just we absolutely slapped them in the second half, and it did help that the confidence from the first half, every single bit of luck that needed to go our way did. And to another degree, like, we haven't had the referees' luck from the other games where we've had a player sent off, like Jack Colback in the QPR game, or a penalty. No, we did get a penalty actually. Never mind. Maybe it is just like, yeah, everything that we needed to be lucky was happening for us. What their goal, and I think, does come from that Huggins threat. And Jim brings up a really good point and a stat that I did not know. So he says, Huggins' total minutes are less than 10 full matches in the past 3 years. So can we let him off for making that kind of mistake? Yes.
Yeah, 100%. He's, like I said, he's not match fit. He's lacking match sharpness. And I once heard Stephen Elliott talk about this, and he said that you can do all the training in the world and be as fit as you've ever been just from training. He says, but until you've had 5-6 games, he says, you've not got match fitness. You haven't got the match fitness and the sharpness in your legs. It takes at least 5 or 6 games to get that match sharpness there.
Yeah, and do you think that's what we're doing with Pritchard or Dak? Because I say this in the watch-alongs, and I've said this in a couple of previous Mackem Football Show podcasts. It seems to me that Pritchard and Dak will play the exact same position, but they'll never play together on this pitch. So you'll have one player 80 minutes or one player 70 minutes and the other one fill in for the rest of the game. It will flip like that for the entire season, in my humble opinion. If you think tactically different to that, by all means, let me know. Brad doesn't disagree. Owen doesn't disagree. Cabby doesn't disagree. Jacob doesn't disagree. No. So, yeah, we've got five Sunderland fans saying that in here. If you want to let me know in the chat, I'll pull it out. We've got Perfume Snobs in the chat, by the way. Roger, Caroline. Who else is new? Dave McDave. What a great name. And Jenny Stone. Welcome along. Yeah. What's your overall feeling about Sunderland after the first 7 games? And we'll go through every single one here now with that. So, Brad, your middle top, you're the one right next to me, then Owen, then Cabby, then Yorkshire. So, Brad, what are you thinking? What's your perception of Sunderland right now?
I think we're in a really, really good position, to be honest. Obviously, I think we're going unbeaten in is it the 4th game on Sunday? I think we're unbeaten in 3 at the minute. I am not unbeaten. I mean, it's a 3-win streak.
3-win streak, unbeaten in 5. We lost our first 2 openers.
Yeah. But this goes in obviously against Cardiff City. Can we get the 4th consecutive win? Of course we can. I think we can. I'm very confident. For me this season, I'm not going to say too much yet, but I said on the RWA Productions group on my Facebook page that I'm pretty confident that Sunderland will go up as automatics this season. That's what I'm thinking.
That's a big show. That would mean Speakman tells the truth.
Yeah.
Owen, what's your thoughts on the club at the minute, mate?
I think we're in an excellent position. We're better off this season than we were last season. But obviously, I suppose we went through the upheaval of the manager change last season, which we hopefully won't have to worry about this season. I think we're in a great position. I think we've got a lot of good players. I'm not gonna come out like and say we're definitely going up or we're definitely going to get automatic promotion because we're just not deep enough into the season, and you know, all it takes is an injury list like last season or some other teams to. I don't know. It's a difficult one to assess this early, but we're playing good football. We're winning games that last season we probably would have drawn or even perhaps lost at the start of the season. The quality of football is just absolutely fantastic, and the lads who last year were good have not had any slump in their form. They've kicked on again this year. Jack Clark, Dan Ballard, Dan Neil. And I think Dan Neil's someone who's been great. He's been one of our best players this season, and I think the stick he gets from some of Sunderland fans is out of order. But yeah, I think we're in a really good position. And look, it's too early. I'm not going to come out and say we're going to go up automatically. I think it's just too early to say that. But we've got a really good chance of competing for one of those top 6 positions. And like you, Ant, the only team that really scares me now is Leicester. Yeah.
Leicester for me, I don't know what it is about them, but yeah, really good point. I don't know. I want to temper my expectations with like where I want to predict our club. Like I said, I want us to finish ahead of where we were last season. I think that's pretty much a unanimous opinion. Obviously, everybody wants us in the Premier League immediately, and it should be there already. But I'd much rather us be there and be successful, be more like a team that is pushing top half and maybe even challenging for Europe rather than being in a dogfight season in, season out. Like we could have went up last season via the playoffs. We could have beaten Luton, and I think we would have beaten Coventry in the Wembley final before it went to penalties. And we could be a Premier League team right now, but I think we'd be probably matching Luton's form if we're being brutal about it. So I'm kind of relieved that we've got these lads, we've got them so young, we're bringing in a good team, and this ethos that we have at the club at the minute is a much better like a much better trajectory for us going forward. Long term, as long as we're long term successful, that's all that really matters. And then we're improving on where we were last season. So 69 points or above. That'd be great. Sorry, just got my Alexa telling me to go to bed. Cabby, what's your thoughts on Sunderland's current position?
Yeah, it is really, really good. It's obviously miles better than what we were last season, but there is a long, long way to go. I mean, have we got better depth in our squad this season than what we had last season? Because I mean, it is inevitable that we will get injuries. Just what every club does, and that's when the test really starts, doesn't it? When you start like maybe losing a couple of your decent players. But it's like the last few games of last season, like the last 8 games, the way we were gelling and the way we were passing the ball, it was sexy football to watch. It was great, and I just think we've got that back, and especially now since the Loch Ness Drogba Stewart's gone, it seems to have galvanised Sunderland even more.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the team spirit with was it Bar or someone, or was it who put one of the hats on in front of the crowd?
Hamia Samiro.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just little things like that. It means like the players are happy and they're enjoying themselves, and if you've got a good team spirit, it's like having an extra man on the pitch every single game you play. You can't beat having a good togetherness and team spirit, and that's what I'm sensing around Sunderland. Of course, don't forget we've got Russian, as you've been mentioned before. He could be starting. I don't know if he's going to play against Cardiff, but obviously Speakman and that they're doing the right thing. They're balancing everything well. They're keeping the team spirit together. It's good. Yeah. And if we can keep that team spirit good, if we can keep the team spirit good right the way through, then the sky's the limit for Sunderland. Don't any bad apples in the changing rooms or in the squad. We don't want that. It just takes one bad apple to set the rest to go bad as well. So
exactly, yeah, exactly. So Stuart says, look at Borough compared to where we were last season. So if we're doing a direct season by season comparison, Borough at this stage last season were on 6 points in 20th position. Sunderland were in 8th with 11 points, 3 off the top spot. If we use this season's numbers against like last season, so game 7, we would have been on 13 points. We would have been second in this league last year. We're 4th because there's 3 teams that are just absolutely rocketing. It's just the nature of football. If you're on form, it doesn't matter how well the people below you are, they can't catch you. So we're kind of heavily reliant on Preston, Leicester and Ipswich slipping up now, but we're going to be gnawing on their heels for the rest of the season. And Jenny Stone says Sunderland are going up this season. And if we make playoffs, I think we should be, based on 7 games into the season. Let's not jinx ourselves. If we're literally basing this league finishes as is now, we're beating Norwich, we're beating Hull, and we're beating Bristol in the playoffs. It's that simple. But it depends on how the season goes, who keeps fit, and I don't know. We're all just super happy after Game 7. Again, as Stuart says, it is so early, like Snob says, and I believe that we will be going for the automatics as well into the Premier League. So, what's your perceptions, Jacob?
I think that, it's at the minute, I'm enjoying it so far. Even though our first 2 games, it was disappointing, but despite that, we played well in them too. But maybe it's because the team was still getting to know each other, and I think they was dwelling on Ross Stewart. But by the Rotherham game, I think that was the peak of gelling well together and knowing, and the team getting to know each other more. And then after transfer window, by Southampton, it was just that's when they fully knew, started gelling well. And I think maybe because of the Ross Stewart situation, before the team had been a bit low and just thinking, when Stewart's back, we can, But now that he's gone, do you not think it just seems different vibe now? And
That's
now that all
yeah.
now all that's over, look at us.
Yeah, that,
You know,
yeah.
I think more. Sorry. Go
No,
on.
no. I was going to retort to that. I'll retort to it after you finish your point. Sorry.
It's all right, but yeah, I think it's more or less going to be the same as last season. I think this season, but I do think we'll finish higher. I'm still sticking with finishing 5th in the championship, and if we do go up, it's amazing. I do get a bit nervous how we'll do in the Prem, but never know. We could finish top 10 in the Prem for our first season, because you know sometimes that can happen with newly promoted teams, can't it, in the Prem?
In Mowbray, yeah.
Let's just see how it goes, and you know, regardless of what happens, you know, if we still finish in top half at championship, I'm still going to be grateful, because you know, still in top half at championship, it's not like we've took loads of steps back and finished 5th, you know, bottom half. But
yeah,
I think we'll be fine again this season. You know, let's just stick with the lads, and you know, keep on encouraging them on.
Keep the faith.
Yeah, absolutely, and fuck the mags.
Yeah, that's it. I do want to bring up Jenny's point as well. She says Sunderland will finish top 6. I don't know exactly where, but I hope it's top 2. But I could take playoffs this season based on how well we're playing. I genuinely don't fret. I don't. The one team I'm. The only team I wouldn't like to play again is Leicester. Like, if Leicester somehow like fall off and let 2 teams leapfrog them in the last couple of weeks, then I'd be a bit scared. But I wouldn't mind playing Preston again or Ipswich again, because I think on that day we just hadn't got like the formula right. Now we're singing and we're on point. It's just I don't know. It just feels really good to watch us. Here's another stat that might help everybody with a little bit more confidence. If we're comparing Sunderland's current team position versus Burnley last season, would be above them, and they obviously pissed the league. So there's positive signs. Let's use it into that. Before we go into like wrapping it up and saying what we think, where we can find each other, do you want to say your predictions for Sunday's game against Cardiff at the Stadium of Light? So we'll go back to front. Jacob, do you want to go first?
3-1 Sunderland.
3-3-1s in a row. Nice.
Yeah.
Cabby, what are you saying for Sunderland versus Cardiff on Sunday?
I'm going to go 2-0 Cardiff.
See, just for anybody who's listening in, every single time, I say every single time, the last 3 games, Cabby has said the other team's going to win, and it hasn't panned out. So don't take that as it's just.
Why break a good method?
Exactly. If he changes us to win, we're still gonna jinx it. Yeah. So that's all. It's all good.
You like the Pied Piper, Cabby. You just like the Pied Piper.
You know? What about you, Owen? What are you saying?
I'm gonna go 2-1 Sunderland. I think 2-1.
That seems fair. Not another 3-1.
No, I think it'll be a tougher game. They're in good form at the moment. I think I don't know. I've just got a slight concern. You know, the fact they'll make it a very tough game, a very physical game again, and it'll be a bit of a scrap. And the lads are tired. I mean, you could tell that from what Tony was saying in the presser today. They obviously they didn't train today. They had pretty much had a day off today. So I am going 2-1.
Fair enough. And Brad.
Yeah, well, Cardiff's had a really, really bad start of the season, but obviously they've won against Cardiff.
Won against themselves.
Yeah, we won against Swansea 2-0 and won against Coventry 3-2. So it's a bit of a hard one for me. 2-1 Sunderland, same as Owen.
Okay, I don't mind. I don't mind scrappy games, but I'm going to use stats to my advantage here. I'm going to say Sunderland 2-0. Cardiff very, very, very rarely win free on the bounce. We've done it. Doesn't mean they're going to do it, and we're definitely not going to just allow them to snatch it. So, yeah, I'm going to say Sunderland based on purely numbers and my logical head. and a little bit of my heart, 2-0. So I'm happy with that. We've got Stuart saying 1-0 in the chat. We've got GS saying 3-0 with Clark, Bellingham, and Burstow scoring. That'll be interesting. And then if Russian breaks into the fold. I'll quickly, before we go into where to find each other, I just want to explain why Dan Neil's got a little bit of criticism from Jim Nesbitt. Feel free to correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but for me, Dan Neil has so much potential, and we know how good his quality can be. For me, he's not performing to his 100%. He's probably about 85-90% of his current skill level. You can see he's not putting his maximum effort in the game. It's just that. It's basically, we know he's good. He's very consistent. He's really good at the game, but he needs to step up to that, back up to the 100% and put in all of his effort. Maybe it's what he's doing, what he's told, like Burstow is. But he's just doing what Mowbray tells him, and it's frustrating him a little bit. So yeah, maybe it's that. But we can talk about it a lot more on the game on Sunday during the breaks in play, because obviously we're going to score 19 goals in every single shot that we have is going to go in the back of the net. So anyways, how can we find you in your channel, Brad?
Yes, so go on to the RWA Productions, just type it in on Google and just press subscribe. That's all you do.
Awesome. Cabby, how do we find you?
Yeah. Just the Mackem Cabby on YouTube. I have got my Facebook page as well, Sunderlads and Lasses, and you'll see some content coming up there, some funny stuff, some alternative commentary, and I'm chuffed to bits because I've just hit 1,500 subscribers, so brilliant.
Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Top out.
Jacob, how do we find you?
Well, you can check out my channel if you want. I mean, I've uploaded some of my TikTok. I've uploaded some of my TikTok videos on there, but you know.
If you want, not really bothered though.
No, I'm not fussed.
Fair enough. Oh, fair enough, mate. Class. Owen, how can we find your channel and your content?
On YouTube, SAFC Exile Mackem, type it in the search and you'll find it. Daily updates, daily videos, podcasts, and sometimes I even have fantastic guests like Anton, so there you go.
There we are. Thank you very much for having me on this week as well, mate. Yeah, I'll leave links to everybody in the description at the end of this video. But until now, and the next one. Oh, next week, obviously, we're playing a game on Friday evening, so there will be a... the show will not be on Friday, essentially, because we're playing a game. We'll do a watch-along, so... we'll work out if we do a replacement one, because I don't want to do one the following week where I've got to do 4 games to catch up on. So yeah, we'll work out what we're doing next week for that. There you go. Right, thank you very much. However, lads, catch you in a bit. See you, boys and girls.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, Owen. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, we're still streaming. It's not doing